The cold steel of the gun trembled in the officer's hands, but the men in front of him did not move. His hands were raised, his voice calm, but his eyes burned with a lifetime of pain. "I'm just standing here," he said. "Why is that a crime?" It began on an ordinary Tuesday morning in the city of Elridge, where the sirens rarely slept and suspicion hung in the air like summer heat. 31-year-old Marcus Bryant had just dropped his little sister off at school. He was walking to the community center a few blocks away, dressed in a hoodie and jeans, earbuds in, listening to a podcast about meditation and mental strength. His day was simple. Unremarkable. But to Officer James Delaney, patrolling the neighborhood with a clenched jaw and a chip on his shoulder, Marcus didn't look ordinary. He looked suspicious. That word, so heavy, so loaded, was the spark that set fire to everything. Delaney rolled up slowly in his cruiser, eyes scanning Marcus like a hawk. "Hey, you. Stop right there." Marcus pulled out one earbud. "I'm just walking, man." "I said stop," Delaney barked again, stepping out of his car, one hand already brushing the holster at his waist. There were no witnesses yet. No phones out. Just an early morning street, one man walking home, and another man with a badge and too many unchecked biases. Within seconds, Delaney had drawn his weapon. "Hands up. Now." Marcus froze, heart slamming against his ribs like it was trying to break free. I'm not doing anything," he stammered. "Shut up. Hands where I can see them." On the ground. Marcus knelt slowly. "Please. This is a mistake. I live here. I didn't do anything." But to Delaney, none of that mattered. What mattered was control. What mattered was dominance. What mattered was the rush he got from asserting authority, even when it wasn't justified. Then, in a moment that would change everything, Marcus said, "Can I make a phone call?" Delaney scoffed. "You're in no position to ask questions." But Marcus had already reached for the phone lying on the sidewalk next to him, not moving an inch otherwise, his other hand still raised. With trembling fingers, he pressed a contact named Mom. But it wasn't his mother who answered. A deep, commanding voice came through the speaker. "This is Chief Harold Bryant." "Who is this?" Delaney's face twitched. He lowered the gun slightly. "Chief Bryant." Marcus looked up slowly. "Yes. My uncle. I told you, I live here. I belong here." And just like that, the curtain dropped. The illusion of suspicion dissolved. Delaney stood frozen, his authority unraveling thread by thread. The next few hours moved like a storm. Marcus was allowed to stand. An internal affairs unit arrived before noon. By nightfall, footage from a neighbor's security camera had been pulled. Delaney's voice, shouting, threatening, trembling with rage, was recorded. The city heard it. The country would soon follow. The story exploded. Unarmed black ma. Men held at gunpoint until phone call saves him. But this wasn't just about a phone call. It was about what that moment revealed, the way a man in uniform had treated another human being like a threat simply because of the color of his skin. Marcus wasn't famous. He wasn't flashy. He didn't have a criminal record. He wasn't holding anything but earbuds and a phone. He was plain, in the eyes of the world, just another face in the crowd. But in that moment, he became the face of something bigger. A wound too deep to ignore. The aftermath was a roller coaster. Officer Delaney was suspended within 24 hours, fired within 2 weeks. He appeared on local news, insisting it was a misunderstanding, that he had feared for his life. But the footage didn't lie. Neither did the tone of his voice, the way his finger hovered over the trigger. Marcus, meanwhile, tried to go back to normal, but what was normal now? He found himself walking faster, avoiding eye contact, scanning every corner for squad cars. At night, he'd lie awake thinking about how different things could have been. How close he had come to becoming a hashtag. A name on a mural. A face on a t-shirt. And yet, he didn't stay silent. At first, it was a small gathering, 10 people, then 50, then 200. At the community center, Marcus began speaking. Not with anger, but with purpose. He told his story again and again, not to shame, not to divide, but to awaken. We're not looking to destroy, he told the crowd one evening. We're looking to rebuild. To be seen. To be safe. He talked about Delaney. About how one man's fear nearly cost him his life. But he also talked about the officers who reached out afterward, who apologized, who promised to do better. He talked about the teenagers who wrote him letters. About the old woman who hugged him outside the grocery store. About the teacher who invited him to speak at her class. Marcus was changing. And so was his city. A year later, the street where it happened was renamed Bryant Way. Not for Marcus, but for his grandfather, a retired bus driver who marched with King in '68. A symbol of legacy. Of family. Of struggle and resilience. Marcus stood beside the new sign, his uncle, the police chief, at his side. Cameras flashed. Reporters asked questions. But Marcus only had one thing to say. I was just a plain man. But sometimes, that's all it takes. One plain man to make one phone call. And the whole world listens. In the end, Marcus's story wasn't just about injustice, it was about courage. About how standing still in the face of fear is a form of resistance. About how dignity, even when threatened, can become a revolution. And for every person who has ever been judged before being known, for every person who's been feared for existing, Marcus's story remains a beacon. You don't have to be famous to matter. You just have to survive and speak.